Remember this, we can never move the body faster than what the arms can move. And we can never move it faster than what the club can move.
Okay.
However, we can move it earlier.
We can get like a head start.
We can get a head start.
People don't get their hips open because their arms are moving too fast relative to their body.
Yep.
And one of the keys for them to learn to slow it down is to take the tension out.
100%.
Okay.
If you are this person, you struggle with this, learn how to hit some like 3/4 shots, full shots, and just feel super tension free and lackadaisical when you're hitting this. So it's just like, oh my gosh, now it's like my arms are just falling behind me.
Let me try one of those.
Absolutely.
This is my favorite video we've ever done on leading with the hips. Please watch through the whole thing. We add little details, layer them in piece by piece throughout the whole video. Enjoy. If you're a player at Impact who has no rotation, you've been trying to do it, in this video we're going to talk about really the first key, which is a little counterintuitive to a lot of people, of how you need to sequence the arms with it. Then we're going to talk about specifically some of the feels of how to increase your pelvis rotation, and then we'll go into really a key drill at the end. So,
absolutely.
Trevor, in a lot of your videos, I know you talk about the absolute key for someone to learn how to open their hips more, lead with the hips, is actually how to slow down the arms first.
100%, okay? Because the one thing, like we said this in one of our previous videos, we have a ratio. It's a really cool ratio to understand. In a 100-mile-per-hour golf swing, this moves 100, the arms move 30, and the body moves 5, okay? So if we're trying to get the pelvis to move at a higher rate than what the arms are, one, it can't move faster than it, but it has to move earlier than it. So in order for us to get the pelvis...
Say that one more time, that was so important.
Okay?
Can't move faster than it.
Remember this, we can never move the body faster than what the arms can move. And we can never move it faster than what the club can move.
Okay.
However, we can move it earlier.
We can get like a head start.
We can get a head start.
Light bulb moment for some people.
I hope that's a light bulb moment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the number one reason why players' arms, hands, golf club move at a higher rate than what their body moves is due in part to tension. So when I'm gripping this club super tight right here, when I get up to the top and I'm gripping this super tight and I'm trying to say, okay, go with the pelvis early. All right, I'm going with the pelvis early, but here's the problem. This club is still steepening because this is basically like dead weight now. I haven't gotten any energy into it. So some of the ways that I'll relate this in regards to tension, think about the pressure you carry when you throw a ball. Very light. There's just enough security that I can still hold on to this, but I can still move my arms, I can move my hands at a decent rate right there. This is basically, it allows us to shallow the club, it allows it to come from the inside, it allows us to put energy into it, because even like this right here, if you look at like when somebody sets up to throw a ball, this might be where their wrist is loaded, but now when we get a head start with the body, the weight of this object stays behind us. That's what actually starts to help and assist loading the wrist. That would be where we would see the golf club start to shallow more, because we're moving the body at an earlier and a higher rate than what the arms and the hands are moving.
So just so that I'm following along here, the people don't get their hips open because their arms are moving too fast relative to their body.
Yep.
And one of the keys for them to learn to slow it down is to take the tension out.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Like you think about if I gripped this white knuckled, if I was going to throw this ball and my arms like contracted right here, it's like super tense. I got a better chance of hitting this mat right here in front of me than getting it to go that direction.
And that would be like a lot of arm speed.
It'd be a lot of arm speed. And the other thing that I really want to stress to viewers here is it takes away from feel. Now we don't have any awareness of what the golf club is doing. That's where we're hoping, as opposed to trying to lead the golf club to impact. That all relates to tension, and that tension gets the arms to move at a higher rate than what the pelvis does, so we can't get open. So a lot of times when I'm teaching guys or girls that are actually struggling with this, I might have to start for the first 15-20 minutes of a lesson and actually just learn how to feel that this golf club is very tension-free, similar to me throwing a ball, similar to me hitting a tennis ball with a tennis racket. And just learning how to actually get some energy into the golf clubs where we have feel.
Let me ask you that, Trevor. So, and as it relates to opening the hips more, taking the tension out as you're having that player do that is simultaneously them learning how to slow the arms down.
Yes,
Okay.
correct,
Okay.
100%. That's what allows you to get the body to move earlier, not faster, earlier than what the arms and the hands and the golf club can move.
That's such a key point.
That is it's so important. So if you are this person, you struggle with this, learn how to hit some like 3/4 shots, full shots, and just feel super tension free and lackadaisical when you're hitting this. So it's just like, oh my gosh, now it's like my arms are just falling behind me.
Let me try one of those.
Absolutely.
So that to scale that, if someone's trying this first, that was a full swing. That's going under 100 yards. Is that
Absolutely,
fair? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to scale, like if you're watching at home, what does that like actually look like? Because a lot of people go tension free like that and then they'll hit it like 100.
And then they hit it 150 yards.
Yeah. All right, so this is like very relaxed with the grip pressure.
Yep.
Okay, taking the tension out, learning how to slow down the arms. So that was probably, I don't know, 80-yard shot.
80-yard shot.
Okay.
Now the neat thing about this, like when you do this again, Eric, how much more feel do you have of where the club is in space?
A lot more.
Which then gives you the ability to, hey, if you want to move something earlier,
yeah,
you have the ability to move it earlier. So there,
I see where you're going here.
Now
So
you're able to get the pelvis working.
If I'm have a lot of tension and my arms are working fast, I can't really feel anything in the first place. I don't have awareness to move my pelvis anyway. It's like a non-starter.
Right. If you rotate, it might actually be worse for you.
So once I feel, and again, like people live there until they get that, but let's assume someone's practicing that, they're hitting that, they're taking the tension out with the goal of the arms being slower to give the body time.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's say they've gone kind of through that. We'll call that part one.
Yep.
Phase one. I think as phase two, you said then you would kind of slowly add some speed at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So first, I'm going to keep this as slow as I can keep this in the transition all the way through the hitting area. And as crazy as this sounds, I'm not even trying to hit the golf ball. I never want to feel like there's hit in the golf ball to where I'm ever accessing tension. Then when that starts to get more comfortable and I can be successful doing it, then I'm going to keep kind of that same speed right there. I'm going to go a little bit slower, but I'm going to add a little bit more speed now down at the bottom. So I'm going to wait until I feel the club stays behind me, falls behind me, and I'm going to add a little bit more umph down at the bottom. So maybe we started at 80 yards right there. Maybe I'll move it up to 130 yards now. So if I moved it up to 130, I'm going to keep the same tension scale. And I'm just going to move that up now to about 130 yards right there.
I want to try
and
that
it looks
too.
very smooth. And it's very effortless. It actually turns into a shot you can play in the golf course.
And that's, you're feeling that kind of like here through?
Yes, when the shaft gets about parallel to the ground, that's where I'm going to put my umph in.
Okay, okay. So a little bit of speed at the bottom. I'm tension free, I'm relaxed. Got that kind of part one. Part two, add a little bit of speed at the bottom. And that's sort of like now setting me up as I'm adding that speed, I'm assuming, to once I start to get a feel for that, start to get some specific feels for what my pelvis and the rotation piece are going to be.
Correct. Because the one thing that I'll say, like, this is kind of a super important point right here. So when you're making change and you're doing stuff like that, everybody has an internal awareness speed. There's a skill set they've done probably 4,000 or 5,000 times a day. It's the pace that you touch your hat. Like I can close my eyes, touch my hat, touch my nose, touch my ear. That's my awareness speed. If I try and go Mach 10, I go as fast as I can. I don't know where any of that is. The same applies to when we're hitting golf balls. So go at a speed that you are internally aware of where things are moving in space. That's why I always start off slow before I start to move it up to speed right there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. So let's say we've gotten through phase two. We started to add some speed at the bottom.
Yep.
And I think phase three is really the femur, maybe the femur and the leg piece first.
Yeah, we can go into that.
Yeah, and then we'll kind of do the drill.
Let's go into that.
Yeah. So some feels that you would have once you start feeling the pelvis rotation.
So one of the things that prevents a lot of people from actually rotating is the position that they get their lead femur into. So we can make this great turn at the top, and if we keep this femur internal like this, Okay, I'm basically closing off my hip socket
And
right
for
there.
those that don't know, what is internal?
Internal would be my knee. This direction, that would be external.
Okay.
That would be out. Okay, so I get the knee stuck on the inside part of my foot. So like if I had this, if this was a clock, right here would be 12 o'clock. I rotate this back in, let's call this 2 o'clock. If I keep this at 12, between 12 and 2 right here, I don't have the ability to keep rotating, so I'm just gonna stand up and push vertically now.
Okay, internal rotation of that leg, bad, harder to rotate.
Way harder. So the femur, one, it helps move the knee, it helps open up the hip socket. And so if we were up here doing this right there, if I turn to the top, my first move is I'm gonna try and get this to move from 2 o'clock, here's 12 o'clock, around to 10 o'clock, because now what that's starting to do is this is getting my pelvis a lot more open right here. And now that club's in a position like this to where I can start to explode the direction of the target right there.
So if let me try. Let me see if I can do that. So as I'm coming down, let's say that I've got the tension out, I'm adding a little bit of speed in. As I'm starting to feel that work around, if I have that as like a, let's just say one of the optional feels.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling the femur around, maybe the kneecap more towards the target.
Yep.
Is that something I'm feeling like pretty much right away?
I would say it's something that we're feeling very early in the transition.
Okay.
Very early in the transition.
So the arms are soft, and that's kind of, yeah, almost right off the bat.
So what you'll see, like if I come in here with you for 1 second, you'll feel a pretty good stretch right here. So as you turn this to the top, so if I put some pressure there and you start to turn the femur around, you feel how this is starting to stretch right here.
Yeah, 100%.
So the more that turns, the more this stretches, that's just gonna wanna now slingshot.
Yeah,
That creates a slingshot effect with the arms right there. A very natural way of creating speed.
So I've slowed my arms down, taking the tension out. Now I'm getting my body working correctly with the femur and the knee more towards the target. Let's just add that. And I assume as I'm adding this in as like a step 3, hypothetically, I'm going a little bit farther, maybe more towards the 140, 150.
Yeah, this is gonna start to add an element of speed for us.
Kind of gradually getting closer to my full. Arms are soft. Feel that work around. Now, that felt like as soon as I started to add that in, I could feel my brain wanting to go back to normal with my arms and hands rushing.
Correct.
And so I need to really feel like I even, and again, this is like we're on step 3 after 3 swings.
Absolutely.
Assume I did some more of the taking the tension out.
Absolutely.
But for you guys watching, that's going to happen too. I got to really feel the tension free, slow the arms down. That felt better.
That was much better.
Yeah,
and so this is where, like, even in the beginning of this video, like we were talking about, learn how to do these firstly at slower speeds. Once you learn how to do these at slower speeds, you're going to be able to gradually increase the pace of it.
Got it, okay. And I know you were going into, for some kind of the drill we referenced from the beginning, some feels, of the kneecap and the femur going around, not staying in. But I really like this. If we can put that in the...
yeah, so if I put this antenna that we've got right here, if I put this in my belt loop.
This would be like a drill to give them a visual.
Exactly, this is a really good visual. So anybody who's a visual learner, like what I am, I'm an extremely visual person. If I see things, it really helps me understand what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Otherwise, like my least favorite thing in the world to do, I hate guessing. Time is like so valuable. It's like I don't want to come out here and work my rear off for 2 hours and just guess and hope that I did it well. So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to go, all right, I'm up top. I'm going to feel now, if I move this femur around, wow, that just moved my pelvis quite a bit. Now I can move the pelvis a little more. Then eventually we'll start to get into accessing what the feet have the ability to do. So even when I do these right here, when I've got this alignment stick in, I'm going to do this at a relatively slower speed, where I'll go, there's what that would feel like to really get myself as open as possible. Then I can start to gradually up the pace of that from there.
Yeah, okay.
That I can't stress enough to everybody. I say it all too often, but it's really, I can't say it enough.
So when you have that and you just referenced there, just a quick little piece, it doesn't matter so much, like you can feel the pelvis working around and have that make the leg go external, or you can feel the leg go external and have that make the pelvis. Can you swap those?
Absolutely. Like the coolest thing about this game that we play is like there's not always, you don't have to go by what everybody says conventional is. Do what works the best for you anatomically. Okay? Some people feel the femur, some people feel the knee, some people twist the foot, some people turn the pelvis. It's really whatever gives you the best feel and the best look. I can think pelvis, sometimes I think femur. I've had a lot of different ways that players have been successful doing it, to where I wouldn't say that there's just one way of doing it.
Got it, okay.
Just knowing that this is kind of our reference that we're trying to get into.
Yeah.
We're trying to get this to move at a much higher and a much earlier rate than the arms, not faster than the arms.
Yeah, that was a key point the way you said that, and I appreciate that. I tend to feel more of the pelvis kind of going, and then my leg will work as a reaction.
Yep.
And like we said, there's different ways to do it. So let's just kind of quick recap this. If you're someone who wants to increase or lead with the hip and have more pelvis rotation and impact, the first key, let's say set up for another day, let's say the first key is to learn to slow the arms down.
Slow them down.
Slow them down. And we do that first by taking the tension out.
Learn to be tension free.
We're going to hit those little shots. Step 2 is we're going to add a little bit of speed to the bottom. Right? A little bit of speed to the bottom, hit a little bit farther. And then step 3 is really starting to actually add the direct feels that would increase the pelvis. You can do that with the femur, the leg. Footwork we'll save for another video, the pelvis itself, rib cage. There's lots of ways to feel that. But I think that's a really good sort of overview and really how to guide you through step by step. If your arms are moving really fast from the top and there's lots of tension, it's essentially next to impossible for you to get that look you're looking for of being more open. So hopefully we emphasized that enough. Trevor, appreciate that.
Always good.
Always really good. We're going to put Trevor's info down below if you want to come down to South Florida for in-person lessons, online lessons. If not, we're going to do some more videos. Hopefully you guys keep enjoying them.